Hello all. Welcome to my little corner of the internet, my humble abode. Today we're talking about why I believe we should outlaw age verification, not just at a state or national level, but globally. Now, the video idea was precipitated by me seeing a video by Nexus Consumer Advocacy that was talking about it being implemented on the next PlayStation due to the UK laws. And the argument you often see for age verification is protecting children. My belief is that that is superfluous and also unnecessary because, first of all, it's not the government's job to protect children, it's the parents' job to protect children. Two, parental controls already exist and they have existed for over a decade. So saying that suddenly we need to add something to protect the children doesn't, at a fundamental level, doesn't make any sense because that something already exists. There is already parental controls. There's already children's accounts for any imaginable service that you could think of. And even so, none of that is really a replacement for a parent being involved and being aware of what their children are doing, what they're accessing, and how they're using their technology. And so I think this is just an additional, unnecessary, and draconian imposition by governments, and more specifically, corporations into the family unit. Because ultimately, the governments aren't writing these laws of their own accord. They're being lobbied to. They're being manipulated and forced and bribed into doing so. For example, Gamers Nexus Consumer Advocacy also mentioned a lot of negatives that can come about from the way this data is handled, how age verification is done, from SIM spoofing to fraud, to all these sorts of issues, and I'm going to link his video below so you can get the full story from him. But there were also some very good comments that I saw under that video that I would like to share, expound upon, and give you my take on them. And I think these are all very insightful comments. A lot of people said, global face database system, mass surveillance act, total censorship. The world is being pushed into a draconian, totalitarian hellscape. I fully agree with that. I think that all these methods of age verification, identification, whatnot you might think of, you could say like, oh, there's a good reason to have them, but the issue is that they can be misused. There's no guarantee that over time, everything sort of precipitates and regulations become more lax, oversight becomes more lax, and over a long enough time frame, there is no way to guarantee that they won't be misused or deliberately or by design. There's no way to tell how your data will be used, how it will be processed, how if they delete, for example, he mentions they'll delete your face after a while, but there's no proof that they'll delete it. There's no proof that they don't extract whatever metadata that they need from your face. There's no proof of it being used, for example, for targeted advertising. And I personally dislike targeted advertising. I dislike advertising in general because if I'm buying a product and when I buy a product, I want to be able to do my research on what I need, do my research on the available options, and pick one out for myself. And I think ads not only just get in the way and prevent you from doing all those things, and they make it worse in general to buy things, but I think that they, by virtue of being advertising, they are manipulation campaigns. They are, at a fundamental level, dishonest, untruthful, and lies, really, and propaganda at best. I think advertising isn't a good thing for society. In some cases it might work, like Google My Business is a form of advertising I'm okay with, if you can call it advertising, but Generally, like if someone needs a dentist or something, they could look it up on Google, right? But there doesn't need to be ads for dentists. There doesn't need to be ads for pharmaceuticals or drugs, various drugs that you could buy, because quite frankly, especially in the case of drugs or treatments, you shouldn't be seeking out certain drugs or treatments because you want them. You should only be getting certain drugs or treatments if and only if it is absolutely medically necessary and there is no other option for you. So I think, especially in the case of pharmaceuticals, there should not be targeted ads or ads in general. But that's a whole nother spiel. I'm getting off track again, which is why I have this notebook. Um, Again, other people were commenting as well. It's not the government's responsibility to protect children, it's the parents. And this is also going back to personal responsibility and personal safety. I think, yes, in the case of children, it's the parents' job, and solely and exclusively the parents' job, to protect their children. Same, like, I think I go a little bit further with that. I would say uh, a lot of the stuff, for example, that police or militaries do, we could offload to individuals. You know, allow people to have guns, 3D printed guns, drones, bombs, whatever. I think some people might disagree with me, but I think that there is where you draw the line between what sort of weapons civilians and military or civilians and police can have. That's something that can be shifted a little bit towards in favor of civilians, especially to introduce more parity between civilian populations and their governments, so that governments remain accountable. Another comment. This one was quoting Benjamin Franklin, a famous quote by him. Those who give up freedom for safety deserve neither and lose both. Which I think he hit the nail on the head with that. And the other issues. Someone listed the issues that can actually arise from this. Anything that can be misused will be, especially going back to my earlier point, over time, standards and rules and regulations relax over time naturally, not over the course of like months or years, but a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, they always become more lax. So even if you have certain rules about the implementation or use of data now, you can guarantee with 100% certainty that those will be more lax and less restrictive in 20 years. So we shouldn't be looking at this as like what's going to happen right now in this moment, but over time, over decades and even a century, how lax can these laws get? How much can this theoretically potentially be misused as a deciding factor of whether or not we allow certain things to happen? It shouldn't be based on how we are writing it today, but how it could potentially be in 2 decades or 3 decades or whatever. Targeted ads. Database. It's unclear how this is going to be used, how it can be used to train AI, how that AI can use the data from your face, because, I mean, yes, you could talk about conspiracy angles, and we will in a moment, like physiognomy, face reading, voice reading, how you express yourself or how you speak, how your likes, dislikes, which someone else mentioned that we'll get to in the conspiracy angle here. And it's unclear what this info can be used for. And furthermore, the other issue is just because it can be misused doesn't mean it will, right? But even if they don't misuse it, they shouldn't have access to this sort of data anyway. That's the other argument, which I fully agree with. Even just because they have the data is in and of itself dangerous, whether or not they misuse it, whether or not it is stolen. And of course, stolen breaches happen all the time. And it's unclear, they could be deliberate, they could be state actors doing this deliberately to, the law prevents the company from disclosing this info, but the state actor can steal it for themselves and use it however they want. So in the end, all these things always trend towards being more lax, less control, less regulation, and the data will dissipate and end up in everyone's hands regardless. So just because of that, they shouldn't have it, but also they shouldn't have it because they have no right to it. They should have no right to it. And the main conspiracy angle here was related to the dreaded uh, E, as they call him, Big E, who had an island and was a very well connected individual until he committed suicide a year or two, 3 years ago, whatever it was. Don't remember. Don't have that on hand. But the conspiracy angle led me down a rabbit hole of certain comments, and one comment was protect the children, they say, as they create a database of children, their likes, dislikes, habits, their data, and demographics. That's extremely concerning. They shouldn't be collecting that data from children at all. Period. I don't give a damn. Um, and the conspiracy angle here, as someone else pointed out, was that if they have this data, all these elites that love diddling kids in their mansions, they can create a catalog from which they can select kids to diddle, to peruse. That in and of itself is concerning enough, and it's concerning enough that these corporations are either okay with these sorts of laws or actively lobbying or pushing for these sorts of laws to be created so that, and part of the reason is so that they don't have any liability, but I think we should have amend the laws so that they don't have liability to begin with, because it's not their business to moderate or to control voice chat to see who says prevent people saying from certain words or certain things or text chat. They shouldn't be doing that. Honestly, I unironically would argue that the glory days of the internet and free speech were the days when you were on Xbox Live in the late 2000s and the average 6-year-old was telling you how hard they're pounding your mother. So I think those are the glory days, and I think we should unironically be okay with that, because it's better than controlling what people can say. It's better than controlling what people see or hear. It's better than having these databases and collecting all this info about people, and especially children. I think there were some soft-skinned individuals that did not like that the average 6-year-old was saying all these things to them. But that's just life. People can curse you out on the street, and that's okay. That's just life. And I think if you're not okay with it, you gotta get okay with it, or what are you doing here? I mean, on this planet, being alive and being open to such things being said to you and happening to you. And so, in a nutshell, that is my explanation of why I think we should all, as a society, as a civilization, as a species, outlaw age verification laws and get rid of age verification or identity verification, as someone else put it here, in terms of technology use. Because sure, there might be dangers, but the negative aspects of implementing that far outweigh the dangers. And I can say this as a millennial who grew up during the Wild West era of the internet. Yeah, sure, people had access to things that were outside of their age group or inappropriate to them, but we turned out fine. We're totally okay, and that's just life. These things exist. You either get with it or you close your ears and close your eyes and live under your blanket in the 90-degree heat. And I think that's a ridiculous way to live at a fundamental level. And so, yeah, deuces.